Walk through to Edexcel's Foundation GCSE June, although it says May, June 2019 entry, paper 1, so put your calculators away. First page, as with always, don't overcomplicate, but don't take too easy. So first question, minutes into hours, the units are getting bigger, so the number needs to get smaller. So it's a divide by 60 to give you 3 hours. To change a decimal into a percentage, it's multiplied by 100 to give us 73%. Next, we have good old BIDMAS. Brackets come first to get the 8, leaving you with 10 times 8 to get the 80. Write down a prime number. There's a couple of possibilities. 23 is the other one. I'm going to go for 29. On to the next page. How to find exactly halfway or the midpoint, or you could call it as the mean of the numbers. And the way to find the mean of two numbers is to add them together to give you 22 and divide by how many there are. In this case, just the 2. Next, first taste of a wordy question. Harry's planning a holiday, so we've got travel. So that's 4 people, but you're only going to travel once. So for travel, it's going to be £150 for the 4 people, giving you £600. Then to the hotel. So this is the one with 2 steps, really. So if it's £50 each day for 4 people, it's £200 a day. So it's 200 multiplied by 7. So the hotel costs come to £1,400. Then the spending money, not each day. So for spends, £250 per person, 4 people, giving you £1,000 on top. So 1,400, add on 600, add on the 1,000, giving you £3,000 all in for this holiday. On to question 7. Bar line graph. Can just about see part B. No point in scrolling down just for that. As soon as you see a bar chart or a pictogram or anything along those lines, my personal preference is to write numbers on the chart to get that bit done first. So there's also blue flowers. They're not displayed. So the ones we can see total to 23. So 30 minus the 23 gives us 7 blue flowers left. Mode, don't forget MO, mode, means most. So the flower we have the most of is the white one. On to question 8. Writing fractions in order of size. On the non-calc paper, there is usually a clue, and in this case, they've gone for the link between them all as being twelfths. So 1/3, let's change that into twelfths, times the bottom by 4, do the same to the top. 3/4, times them both by 3. A quarter, times them both by 3. Leave alone and times them both by 6. So much easier to rank now. So the smallest is 3/12, also known as a quarter, 4/12, which is a third, 6/12, which is a half, 7/12, and 9/12, which is 3/4. On to number 9. We have Ruth walking towards the library. If you walk at a speed of 4 miles per hour, that means in 1 hour you'll go 4 miles. Now, as you can see, between 9 and 10:30 means 1 hour and half an hour. So half an hour will give you another 2 miles. So we've got a total of 6 miles for Ruth. Question 9, part B. We've got our time. Now, I like to set my time out like this. So, gets to the library at 10:30, stays for 50 minutes. So, add on an hour, take off 10 minutes. She walks home. Add on the hour, takes to 12:20, and then the quarter of an hour is 15 minutes. Add on to make 12:35 as the time that she gets home. On to number 10. So, solving in 3 different ways, starting with A. So 3t, I'm sure some people would prefer to simplify it. Doesn't matter if you don't. At the end of the day, divide both sides by 3. There you go. Always do inverse operations. Adding 2 to both sides means x is 8. And this time it's a 2-step equation. Subtract 2 from both sides. And it makes it look like part A. And in part A we divided by 3. So in this one we divide by 6. Giving us the answer of 3 as the value for W. So question 11, obviously there's lots of preferred ways, whether you go for grid, lattice, Italian, doesn't matter what type of technique you prefer, but I will always go for the old-fashioned standard. With the old giant equals sign, small equals sign. Start with 8 times 4 is 32. 8 sevens are 56. Add on the 3 to get 59. We've multiplied by the 8, we now multiply by the 5, but it's not a 5, it's a 5. 50. 5 fours are 20. 7 fives are 35. Add on the 2 to get 37. So total answer 4,292. But whatever method works for you, stick with it as long as it works. And we have some angles for question 12. So for part A, find the values. So we've got perpendicular lines. So it's a 90. So 90, take away the 225s, give us 40 for an answer. Now for part B, I'm not going to list them all. I'll just read through a few. So obviously, there's many right answers for part I. Write down one letter, all right, which also is 125. So you could have gone for B because it's opposite. You could have gone for D because it's corresponding. Opposite angles are equal, corresponding angles are equal, and if you've gone for any more complicated, fair enough. Explain why A plus B plus C must equal, and that's because, don't forget, angles around a point is equal to 360. Or an alternative you could have said is A plus B plus C plus 125 must make 360. Again, plenty of different possibilities and all acceptable on the mark scheme. Question 13. The length of a line is x centimetres. So when you turn centimetres into millimetres, you multiply by 10. So what if it was 3 centimetres, you'd get 30. But it's x centimetres, so you get 10x. On to question 14. Fractions of amounts, no need to times by the top, it's just to divide by the bottom. I'll stick with standard bus stop method to give me the answer of 14. And then Fiona has to work out the value of 48 divided by a half. Now again, mark scheme allows lots of different ways. 48 divided by 2 is 24, so it can't be the same. But I personally would go with dividing by a half is the same as timesing by 2. So the correct answer should be 48 doubled. In other words, 96. On to question 15. We've got powers and a bit of algebra. So square root, it does say the value. I know some people always say -8, but let's just not be a smart aleck. Just 8 will do. 5 cubed, you might know it's 125. Well done if you do. Otherwise, don't forget 5 squared is 25. Just work it out if you don't know it. Expand means multiply. So whatever's before the bracket is multiplied by everything inside the bracket. 5 times 2m is 10m. 5 times -3 to give you -15. Factorise is the opposite. That means put brackets back in. Factorise means take out common factors. The only thing that's in common in these is they're in the 3 times table. There's no letters in common. 3 times n gives you 3n. 3 times 4 gives you 12. On to number 17, getting quite wordy. So we've got a biased coin. Stuart's thrown 10 times. His relative frequency is 7 out of 10. Maxine's relative frequency is 30 out of 50. Whose result is better? So definitely Maxine's, because more trials equals more reliability. I'm just going reliable. Use Stuart's and Maxine's results. So that means we need to combine them. So in total, there were 60 trials. And how many tails did we get? We got a total of 37. Don't overcomplicate, that's all it was asking for. Number 18. We've got a rectangular garden path. We're going to cover it with paving stones. So there's a couple of different ways of doing this. Also, you could do 600 times 120, but because it's a non-calc paper, I'm going to go for a slightly different technique. If you're putting a square in, which is 30 by 30, horizontally, it will fit in 20 times. Vertically, it will fit in 4 times. So it should fit 80 of these paving slabs should fit in. Each paving stone costs £2.50. So we need to do 80 times 25. I'll ignore the decimal. We'll come back to that. So another standard multiplication, 5 zeros and 8 fives are 40. The 2 is not a 2, it's a 20. And 2 times 80 is 100. Whoops, is 160. giving us a total of 2,000. Alright, but that's, don't forget, 80 times 25, so 80 times 2.5 is really £200. Show that he has enough money to buy all the paving stones he needs. So we've got £200, so it's a case of yep, and you'll have £20 spare left over if you want that bit of extra watertightness, which obviously isn't a word. Next, some bog standard fractions. So when you're adding and subtracting, make the denominators the same. So in this case, best is 15. So on the left-hand side, times top and bottom by 5. On the right-hand side, times top and bottom by 3. 10 of something, take away 3 of something, we have 7 of that something. Part B, we want it cancelling down. Now you could do some pre-cancelling, but I'll just go for top times top, bottom times bottom. Oh look, 6 times table. We get a half. Again, that would have worked if you'd have gone to cancel them down before you'd have multiplied. Question 20. One of those weird questions where it doesn't feel like there's enough for you. But it says express as a percentage. Now, I think it's better to work. You can work in, if you prefer decimals, go for it. If you prefer fractions, go for it. I'm going to go for decimals. So if that's 1, that's half as big, 50%. And if that's 1, so's that. So the area of B is 1. The area of A is 0.5 times 0.5, 0.25, which, as we know, is a quarter. So if you went for fractions, that's fine. But the shaded is half of that. So divide that by 2, use bus stop if you need to. But either way, I've got the answer as a fraction and or a decimal. And to change into a percentage, multiply by 100. Yeah, one of those weirder questions where you don't feel like you've got enough numbers. So, make one up. The easiest for me could have done other numbers, but I prefer to go with 1 and 0.5. On to question 21. Obviously, an extremely wordy question. Now, when you look at wordy questions, organising your information is halfway to solving it. There's too much information to be going into any sort of Venn diagram or something along those lines. There's that much information. There's only one way to go, and that's a two-way table. Boy, girl, down there. Mode of transport across the top. And the final column and the final row being your totals. So whenever there's a lot of information, it's all about one square, one line at a time. Top line gives us a number to work off. There are 22 girls in the class. So the girls row is 22, but that tells us that the boys row is 18. It says 9 of the girls walk to school. In goes a 9. 7 of the boys cycle to school. In goes a 7. 6 of the 10 students who get the bus. 10 students get the bus. 6 of those are boys. And that's given us lots of things to fill in. So across 18, take away the 7 and the 6, means 5 boys walk. 10 take away 6 means 4 goes in there. Reading across 22, take away the 4, take away the 9, gives us another 9. Vertically, 5 plus 9 is 14. 7 plus 9 is 16. Always worth double checking that the row you didn't use, in this case I didn't use this row, equals 40. So I double check, does that add up to 40? And yes, the double check is complete. Find the number of students who walk to school. In goes the 14 for my answer. On to question 22. Probability. So there's only blue, so the table's there for you. The table does all that for you, don't worry about that, and so on. Red and yellow is the same. Total of the probabilities must add up to 1, meaning the total of red and yellow must add up to 0.8. So they're both going to be the same. They're going to be 0.4. We're told there are 12 blue cubes in the box. Well, the probability of red is double, so that'll be 24, and yellow is the same, so that should be 24. Adding those up gives you a total of 60. On to number 23. Dion, making some biscuits. Let's see what she needs. So one line at a time on these wordy questions. Dion needs 50 grams of sugar, 3 times as much flour. So flour will equal 3 times 50, 150 grams. Twice as much butter as sugar, so for butter, 2 times 50 grams, giving us 100. Now, when I actually read the question, it doesn't say that I actually need to know about the butter. That's for later, but it doesn't matter where you do it, as long as you do it. So for part A, how much flour does she need? Well, as you can see, folks, it's 4 times as much. So we need to multiply 150 by 4 to give us 600 grams. Dion has to buy all the butter to make 60 biscuits, so it's 100 grams times by 4, so 400 grams required, meaning that we're going to be needing 2 packets to give us the amount of butter required to make sure there's enough to make the cake. So highest common factor usually requires factor trees, so let's get them split. Any pair you want, but I always go for 9/8. 9 is 3 times 3. Prime numbers. And 8, don't mind a 3-way split, is 2 times 2 times 2. Just ends it a little bit quicker. 90, if it ends in 0, always go for 10. 10 splits to 5 2s. 9 splits to 3 3s. Now you could go for the old Venn diagram, but I just prefer to go that's in common. We have a 3. That's in common. We have a 3. There's a 2 in common. We have a 2. And to calculate the highest common factor, we multiply common prime factors. So we get the correct answer of 18. On to number 25. A chance for me to show off my massive lack of artistic skills with my electronic board pen. If you look, plan view means look down on something. If you're looking down on something and it's a circle, and from the front and side you're getting a rectangle, it's a cylinder. It's a toilet roll, whatever you want to call it. It looks like that. But it does say give the dimensions, So don't forget the height of this is 5 squares. Get that on. And the diameter of this, or radius if you wanted to go for 2. I've mentioned diameter, so I'll stick with that. Awesome. So that's my 4 centimeters on the diameter. More drawing skills for number 26. Here we go. So shape A can be transformed to shape B by reflection. So worry about that bit first. Let's reflect it in the x-axis. It's 2 squares above. It's going to be 2 squares below and upside down. That's the image of A. Apparently it can be transformed by a translation. So get counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left and 1 down. But don't forget, 6 to the left is a minus, 1 down is a minus. So the right answer will be -6 and -1. Onwards. Number 27. A tricky, very wordy, almost like a double ratio question. Not the most friendly, but again, like all wordies, one thing at a time. So, you're told about packs, but we'll come back to that in terms of what's in each. Let's just get it all nicely organised. We have black pens, red pens, green pens, and the packs are sold in the ratio 7 to 3 to 4. But in terms of the number of pens, because that's what it's all about, so we need to get away from the number of packs. 2 pens in each black pack means there's 14. 5 in each red pack means there's 3 lots of 5, 15. And 6 pens in each green pack means there are 24. Giving us a rather strange number of 53, but it's a non-calc paper. Why have they given us the number 53? It's not a very friendly number. You'd be expecting something much more friendly, like a 20 or a 50. But hold on, it's because the number of greens, there's 24 out of 53. Look what happens when you double. That means there's 48 greens out of 106. And if we double again, there's 96 out of, oh look, 212. So how many green pens are there? Exactly right, 96 out of the 212 pens are indeed green. On to the next one. Number 28. They're trying to catch you out, but keep it simple. It's not as bad as it looks. QR is 10. Write it on. If QR is 10, so is P to S. B to C equals P to Q. So whatever length this is, that is, and vice versa. The perimeter of ABCD is 26. The area of PQRS is 45. There we go. We've got something we can work out. Area divided by the 10 gives us that distance there, which happens to be that distance there, and that there. What we don't know is A to B, and that's repeated. So now we've got something we can work out. The perimeter of this shape, this rectangle on the left, the total distance around is 2x's, 2 lots of 4.5, 9. That's the total perimeter and that equals 26. Yep, it's a hidden set up and solve. Let's take away 9 from both sides, and let's divide both sides by 2, giving us 8.5 centimetres. And on to the final question, where I'm about to make it look very difficult with my electronic pen. So write down the coordinates of the turning point. Just revise that, folks. Just make sure you know turning point is where the graph literally turns from becoming a downhill gradient to an uphill gradient. It's that coordinate there. It's 1 along and it's 4 down. Part B, use the graph to find the roots. There we go. And there we go. I'll write them as x equals -1 and x equals +3. And hopefully that all made sense, and I really hope that's helped. See you on the next one.